I walked every morning, not for exercise exactly, though that's what I would have said if someone asked. I walked because my body expected it, because the pavement knew my feet, because there was comfort in repetition, and I had learned to value comfort over curiosity. Same shoes by the door, same stretch of sidewalk, same turn at the mailbox with the dented red flag. I left the house just before the light changed, that soft in-between hour when the day hasn't made any demands yet, when I could still pretend I belonged only to myself. My route was a loop. That mattered to me, though I never admitted it out loud. I liked knowing I would end where I began. I liked the quiet promise that nothing unexpected would be required of me. I passed the same houses, the one with the wind chimes that sang even when the air was still, the one where the porch light never turned off, the one with the rose bush that bloomed late, stubborn and out of season. I noticed everything, while telling myself nothing was changing. But some mornings, more often than I wanted to admit, I felt something tug at me just before the turn. Not this way. I ignored it. I always did. Until one morning, without planning to, I didn't. There was no argument in my head, no moment of rebellion. My body simply shifted. As if it had been waiting for permission I hadn't realized I'd already given. Instead of angling right at the mailbox, I kept walking straight. Just like that. The world didn't stop. Nothing dramatic announced itself, but something in me lifted, like a held breath finally released. My heart sped up, not from exertion, but from awareness. I felt suddenly present, awake inside my own skin. This street was narrower, older. The sidewalks uneven, the trees leaning closer together as if they were listening. I had lived here for years, and yet I felt like a visitor. I noticed the smells first. Damp earth. Coffee drifting from an open window, something sweet and yeasty that made my stomach tighten with recognition. I wasn't escaping anything. I was approaching, and walking there, slightly off route. I remembered something else. Years ago I had stopped raising my hand. Not all at once, not consciously. I had spoken up in meetings and been talked over, offered ideas that were gently redirected, learned, without anyone saying it outright, that it was easier to be agreeable than visible. So, I adjusted. I refined myself into someone predictable, someone low maintenance, someone who did not make the room recalibrate. I told myself this was maturity, but walking there, aware of my own pulse, I wondered how much of it had been accommodation. The street opened into a small commercial strip I hadn't visited in years. A bakery, a secondhand bookstore, a narrow storefront with hand-painted letters. I slowed without meaning to. The bakery door was propped open with a brick. Warm air spilled onto the sidewalk, carrying the unmistakable smell of bread just finishing its work. I told myself I would keep walking. Instead, I crossed the street. Inside, the space felt intimate. Shelves bowed slightly under the weight of loaves and pastries. A woman stood behind the counter, flour dusted along her wrist. She looked up and smiled, not politely, but as if I belonged there. "You're just in time," she said. "For what?" She slid a tray onto the counter. Steam rose gently. "We're testing a new recipe. I always make too much." She tore off a piece and handed it to me. I hesitated. Then I took it. The bread was still warm, dense and soft in a way that made me close my eyes without meaning to. I hadn't realized how long it had been since I'd accepted something without earning it. "That's good," I said. "It's getting there," she replied. I became aware then that I wasn't alone at the counter. A man stood a few feet away, holding a coffee he hadn't yet tasted. Late 60s, perhaps. Graying hair. A quiet steadiness about him. He gave a small nod. "First time?" he asked. "Is it obvious?" Only because I've been coming for 3 weeks, he said. I still look around like I've stumbled into something I shouldn't have. There was dry humor in his voice. Do you live nearby? I asked. Close enough to smell the bread from my porch, he said. Then, after a pause, my wife used to bake. I didn't realize how much of the house that filled until it stopped. The words landed without heaviness. Just truth. I used to write, I heard myself say. He looked at me directly then. Used to is a flexible phrase, he said gently. I laughed, surprised by the ease of it. He extended his hand slightly. My name is Robert. It's very nice to meet you. We stood there a moment, two people not entirely certain what shape their mornings were taking. There's a park down the road, he said. They've been putting in new benches by the lake. I've been meaning to see them. I just haven't yet. The yet hung there between us. I've never been, I said. That makes two of us. The bakery woman smiled faintly, as if she'd seen this kind of thing before. Well, Robert said, lifting his coffee slightly, if you're already off route. I felt the familiar flicker of retreat. Then I heard myself say, I am. We walked out together, not side by side exactly, but near enough. As we turned toward the park neither of us had yet visited, I understood something with startling clarity. It wasn't the bakery that changed my morning. It wasn't the bread. It wasn't even the conversation. It was the first turn, the small, almost forgettable decision to keep walking straight. Everything after that had simply been allowed. A life does not usually change in a single sweeping moment. It shifts quietly. One unfamiliar street. One open door. One conversation that might not have happened. A small turn, barely noticeable, that adjusts the direction just enough for something new to find you. The next morning, I stood by the door longer than usual. My shoes waited where they always had. Outside, the day was already moving. Somewhere bread was rising. Somewhere a park bench faced the lake. I smiled, not because I felt certain, but because I no longer needed to be. When I reached the familiar corner, I slowed. But I didn't stop. Some days I knew I would turn. Some days I wouldn't. The difference was no longer the direction. It was the listening. I didn't need reinvention. I needed participation. I reached the place where the loop would normally close. I paused. Then I continued. Not away. Not toward. Just forward. And as I walked, I carried with me the knowing that had been there all along, that even the smallest step, taken with attention, can open a life, that listening is an act of courage, that the morning will always meet you exactly where you are willing to show up. Tomorrow I will turn toward the bakery again. There will be coffee and conversation and a park bench neither of us has seen yet. You just never know what waits beyond a small turn. Thank you for listening to An Unexpected Turn. We hope you enjoyed this story. If you'd like to hear more upcoming audiobooks like this one, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps these stories continue.